Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yata Parakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavam Scha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Saganaraganatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Paran Sahagana Lalita Shivishikam Vitam Scha Om Jnana Timaranda Shagyanajana Shilakaya Chakshuram Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Nama Gurva Bhistam Sapurakam Guraganara Sesha Sambhushitam Chintya Chintya Samasta Veda Nipanam Shri Rupa Patanugam Govinda Vidam Ujjalam Bharatanam Bhaktyan Vidam Sundaram Vande Vishwa Gurun Shah Divyad Bhagavat Prem Noe Bija Pranam Devam Divyatanam Suchandavanam Balarka Chelanchitam Sandrananda Puram Sadekavaranam Vairagya Vidyamburim Sri Siddhanta Nidhim Subhakti Lasitam Saraswatanam Baram Bandetam Shubharam Madhika Sharanam Yashishwara Sridharam Vanchakopatarubhyasya Kripasindubhyevacha Patitanam Pavenibhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah Namo Mahavaranyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namane Gaurata Vishe Nama. So we're hearing from the Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita by Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami with translation and commentary by Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupad. So this is Madhya-lila chapter 24, explanations of the Atmarama verse, and start with verse number 98. Satsangan mukta dusango hatum notsahate buddha kirtyamanam yasho yashya sakrid akarnya rochanam. The intelligent who have understood the Supreme Lord in the association of pure devotees and have become free from bad materialistic association can never avoid hearing the glories of the Lord, even though they have heard them only once. So, this avoiding dusanga, bad association. Dusanga kohiye kaitava atmavanchana Krishna Krishna bhakti binu anya kamana. Cheating oneself and cheating others is called kaitava. Associating with those who cheat in this way is called dusanga, bad association. Those who desire things other than Krishna's service are also called dusanga, bad association. Dharma projita kaitavotra paramonir mat saranam satam vedyam vastavam atravastu shivadam tapa trayon mulanam Srimad Bhagavate Mahamuni krite kim va parer ishvara sadyo ridi avarujate tra kritibi susrushubis tatshanat. A great scripture, Srimad Bhagavatam, compiled by Mahamuni Vyasadeva from 4 original verses, describes the most elevated and kind-hearted devotees and completely rejects the cheating ways of materially motivated religiosity. It propounds the highest principle of eternal religion, which can factually mitigate the threefold miseries of a living being and award the highest benediction of full prosperity and knowledge. Those willing to hear the message of this scripture in a submissive attitude of service can at once capture the Supreme Lord in their hearts. Therefore, there is no need for any scripture other than Srimad Bhagavatam. Prashabde moka bhansha kaitava pradhan Eshloke Sridhar Swami Koriyachan Vyakyan. The prefix pra in the word projita is specifically refers to those desiring liberation or oneness with the Supreme. Such a desire should be understood to be the foremost cheating propensity. The great commentator Sridhar Swami has explained this verse in that way. So that's from this verse, Dharma projita kaitavotra. And the kaitava refers to cheating, and it says the prefix pra from projita refers to those desiring liberation. And this is interesting because many persons will, like even Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya originally, are referring to the Atmarama verse as a verse that will they'll think of Atmaramas as being those who are liberated impersonalists. But the Atmarama verse, of course, refers that even anyone in any position in life is, as the full explanation given by Mahaprabhu to Sanatan Goswami will show, anybody will become attracted by Krishna. That's why his name is Krishna. So the word projita, dharma projita kaitavotra, paramonirmat saranam satam, projita, he says the prefix pra, in projita refers to those desiring liberation or oneness with the Supreme. So such a desire should be understood to be the foremost cheating propensity. The great commentator Srila Swami has explained this verse in that way. Sakama bhakti agyajani doyalu bhagavan swachanana diya kore ichara pidan. When merciful Lord Krishna understands that a foolish devotee desires material prosperity, he gradually gives him the shelter of his lotus feet. In this way, the Lord covers the devotee's undesirable ambitions.
Sri Pavan, Janardan Maharaj ki.
So this verse says that what's happening is Mahaprabhu is explaining to Sanatan Goswami in his explanations, 61 explanations, that all kinds of different persons will approach Krishna. A few verses back we heard that 4 general kinds of persons may come to devotional service: those who are in distress, those who are looking for money, those who are looking for enjoyment, and those who are searching after the absolute truth. Dharma, artha, kama, moksha, basically, those 4 kinds of people may come to Krishna consciousness and in one way or another by associating with a pure devotee, even though they're not in pure Krishna consciousness and they have some material motivation. Even those looking for the absolute truth, they have some material motivation, but in contact with a pure devotee, their view of life changes, and then they themselves can become devotees. So this is one of the tenets of the Atmarama verse. Anyone, and later we'll see, even when Mahaprabhu explains, even animals can come to Krishna consciousness through the mercy of the Vaishnavas. And then he also gives the story of Mrigari, the hunter. Satyam dishati artitam artitoninam naivarta doyat punar artita yata swayam virate bhajatam anichitam icha pidanam nijaparapallavam. Whenever Krishna is requested to fulfill one's desires, he undoubtedly does so, but he does not award anything which, after being enjoyed, will cause one to petition him again and again to fulfill further desires. When one has other desires but engages in the Lord's service, Krishna forcibly gives one shelter at his lotus feet, where one will forget all other desires. So, yeah, we heard some story from the Shastras, like Purana, about even Prahlad Maharaj, how in his previous life he was, I think, cleaned in the Shringa Mandir or something like that, unknowingly, because he wanted a place to enjoy with some woman. But by doing so, he got Sukriti. And Sadhu Sangha. ¿Cómo estás, Maharaj? Bien, bien. Tú y Madhuchanda. Son las dos de ustedes, ¿no? El día viernes. Oh, okay. Entonces yo voy con Ramachandra. Sí. El nuevo colombiano Ramachandra. Entonces vamos para ti y te encontramos ahí en el aeropuerto de San José. Okay. Dandavad. Ashram Maharaj. I'll turn off the ringer so then I can hear just buzzing. So when Krishna's asked to fulfill one's desires, that somebody has material desires, he can fulfill their desires, but at the same time he takes away. He is mentioned that he will do so, but in such a way that that the person won't go to him repeatedly. For Krishna will gradually give him his lotus feet, and then that person will lose the desire for material enjoyment. Sadhu Sangha Krishna Kripa Bhaktir Swabhava Etine Sap Jadaya Kore Krishna Bhava. Association with the devotee, the mercy of Krishna and the nature of devotional service help one to give up all undesirable association and gradually attain elevation to the platform of love of Godhead. Mm-hmm. So I remember I once asked to Srila Prabhupada, it says, there was a verse that says that by hearing the Srimad Bhagavatam and by attending the Bhagavatam class, one's material desires will gradually be reduced to almost nil. And I asked Prabhupada, what does that mean, almost nil? And Prabhupada said, that means it's gradual. It's not going to just happen like this, just a snap of a finger. He said, almost nil means that it will gradually happen. Age jata jata arta vyakyana koriba Krishna gunas vadera e hetu janiva. In this way I shall progressively explain all the words in the Atmarama verse. It should be understood that all these words are meant to enable one to taste the transcendental qualities of Krishna. Shloka vyakyalagi korivun abas ebekore shloker mularta prakash. I have given all these explanations just to give some indication of the verse's meaning. Now let me explain the real meaning of the verse. Gyanamarge upasaka dvita prakar kevala brahmo bhashaka moksha kankiyar. There are two kinds of worshippers on the path of philosophical speculation, or Jnana Marg, two kinds of persons on the path of Jnana Marg. There are two kinds of worshippers on the path of philosophical speculation. One is called Brahma Upashaka, a worshipper of the impersonal Brahman, and the other is called Mokshakanshi, one who desires liberation. So one is a worshipper of the impersonal Brahman, and the other is called Mokshakanshi, one who desires liberation. Kevala Brahmopashaka Tinvedahoy Sadhaka Brahmomoy Araprapta Brahmaloy. There are three kinds of persons who worship the impersonal Brahman. The first is the beginner, the second is one whose thoughts are absorbed in Brahman, and the third is one who is actually merged in the impersonal Brahman. Bhakti bina kevala jnane mukti nahi hoy, bhakti sadhana kore jay prapta brahmaloy. This one cannot attain liberation simply through philosophical speculation, devoid of devotional service. However, if one renders devotional service, he is automatically on the Brahman platform. Bhaktir swabhava brahma hoite kore akarshan, divya deho diya karai krishnera bhajai. Krishna bhajana, okay. Bhaktir swabhava brahma hoite kore akarshan, divya deho diya karaya krishnera bhajan. Characteristically, one in devotional service is attracted away from the impersonal Brahman platform. He is offered a transcendental body to engage in Lord Krishna's service. Bhakta deho paile hoy gunera smaran, guna krishna hoya kore nirmala bhojan. When one gets a devotee's spiritual body, he can remember the transcendental qualities of Krishna. Simply by being attracted to Krishna's transcendental qualities, one becomes a pure devotee engaged in his service. So the important thing being mentioned here, and all the different explanations of the Atmarama verse, will all merge into don't want to use the word merge, but they all come to the point where the person becomes attracted to Krishna and becomes an unalloyed devotee. And start with many different motivations, but ultimately all the persons will become attracted by Krishna. Mukta api lilaya vigraham kritva bhagavantam bhajante. Even a liberated soul merged in impersonal Brahman effulgence is attracted to the pastimes of Krishna. He thus installs a deity and renders the Lord's service. This is really, I remember this. This is part of shloka. Muktapi lilaya vigraham kritva bhagavantam bhajante. Highly elevated Mayavadi sannyasis sometimes worship the Radha-Krishna deity and discuss the pastimes of the Lord, but their purpose is not elevation to Goloka Vrindavan. They want to merge into the Lord's effulgence. This statement is quoted from Shankaracharya's commentary on the Upanishad, known as Nrsinga Tapani. So in this verse, listen to this. Even a liberated soul merged in the impersonal Brahman effulgence is attracted to the pastimes of Krishna. He thus installs a deity and renders the Lord's service. That's Shankaracharya saying that. Janmahoite shuka sanakare brahmamoy Krishna guna Krishna hoya Krishna re bhajai. Although Sukadeva Goswami and the four Kumaras were always absorbed in the thoughts of impersonal Brahman and were thus Brahmavadis, they were nonetheless attracted by the transcendental pastimes and qualities of Krishna. Therefore, they later became devotees of Krishna. Sanakadyer Krishna Kripai Surabe Hariman Gunakrishna Hoya Kore Nirmala Bhajan. The minds of the four Kumaras were attracted by the aroma of the flowers and tulsi manjaris offered at Krishna's lotus feet. Being thus attracted by the transcendental qualities of Krishna, they engaged in pure devotional service. Tashyaravinda Nayanasya Padaravinda Kinjalka Mishra Tulasi Makaranda Vayu Antargata Swa Vivarena Chakaratesham Sangshobham Aksharajusham Abhichittatanvo. When the breeze carrying the aroma of tulsi leaves and saffron from the lotus feet of the lotus-eyed personality of God had entered through the nostrils into the hearts of those sages, the Kumaras, they experienced a change in both body and mind, even though they were attracted to the impersonal Brahman understanding. So the four Kumaras had arrived at the gates of Vaikuntha, and Jai and Vijay were there, and they blocked their entrance. Because although the four Kumaras were really sages, they appeared as naked little children. So the gatekeeper said, wait a minute, you can't go into Vaikuntha. And then they cursed those gatekeepers to fall to the material. You're acting like materialist. You're stopping us, and you're asserting your ego. Then you go to the material world. And then as the Jai and Vijay were being cursed, then some commotion took place, and then Vaikuntha, the Lord, appeared there, and he heard this argument going on. What's the problem here? What's going on? And then while the Lord is there, and Jai and Vijay are being cursed, then the four Kumaras, they could smell the saffron and the tulsi leaves and tulsi flowers offered at the lotus feet of the Lord, and by smelling that, they became completely transformed, and they became devotees, although they were previously attracted to the impersonal conception. And maybe because they were attracted to the impersonal conception, maybe that's why Jai and Vijay stopped them from going into Vaikuntha. I don't know. Vyasa Kripaya Sukadever Lila Nismaran Krishna Guna Krishna Hoya Korana Bhajan. By the mercy of Srila Vyasadeva, Sukadeva Goswami was attracted by the pastimes of Lord Krishna. Being thus attracted by Krishna's transcendental qualities, he also became a devotee and engaged in his service. Harer Guna Shipta Matir Bhagavan Bararayani Adyagan Maha Akyanam Nityam Vishnu Janapriyam. Being very attracted by the transcendental pastimes of the Lord, the mind of Srila Sukadeva Goswami was agitated by Krishna consciousness. He therefore began to study Srimad Bhagavatam by the grace of his father. So, how long was Sukadeva Goswami in the womb of his mother? What was it? 16 years he was in the womb. It was a long pregnancy. And when he came out, he was first completely realized as an impersonalist, and he came at the age of 6. He comes out of the womb, and his only question is, "Where is the door?" And then he walks out and goes into the forest. And then his father, Vyasadeva, knowing about his son, his father instructed different verses from the Bhagavatam to some woodsmen, means those who, collect firewood or whatever in the woods. So, and their woodsmen are there sometimes chopping trees or whatever, and while they're doing so, they're reciting verses from the Bhagavatam. And Sukadeva Goswami hears. It was done as a plan by Vyasadeva to attract his son. When Sukadeva Goswami hears him reciting verses, he hears those verses and he goes, "What is this? This is something incredible." So then he, knowing that, he comes back to Vyasadeva, although he had left home, and he comes back to hear the Srimad Bhagavatam from his father Vedavyas. And then later he went to where Maharaj Parikshit was sitting and fasting, waiting. He had been cursed, and he was waiting the snake bird which would bite him, cause his death. We don't know, but some persons are saying that actually that snake bird is on the flag of Mexico. There's on the flag, there's I think it's an eagle biting into a snake is on the flag there. And some persons are saying that's a reference to, what's the Aztec god's name, the snake bird? Huh? No. Is that it? I thought it. I forget his name, but you look up on your phone, snake bird, Aztec snake bird. Anyway, that snake bird was, I think that snake bird's name, what was it? Tarksha or something. He was to come and bite Maharaj Parikshit. As Maharaj Parikshit had been cursed by the son of a Brahmin. Maharaj Parikshit one time was very hungry and he came into the house of one person looking for something to eat, and that person, it was a Brahmin, he was engaged in meditation, and he didn't attend to the king, and the king, Maharaj Parikshit became angry because he was very hungry, and he put a dead snake on the shoulders of that sage. And when the sage came out of his trance, he just threw the snake away, didn't pay any attention to it. But that Brahman's son, I think his name was Shringvi, he didn't like that, so he cursed Maharaj Parikshit to be bitten by the snake bird and die. And later, knowing that Maharaj Parikshit was on the bank of the Ganges, surrounded by many sages, and fasting to death. But then, Sukadeva Goswami, who had heard the Srimad Bhagavatam from his father, came there, and he came as like that, a 16-year-old boy. He was completely naked, and if Vedavyas went somewhere where the young women had passed near where they're bathing, because they bathe, they're bathing they would bathe without their clothes, and if Vedavyas went anywhere near them, they would, I don't know how they covered their head because they didn't have clothes, I guess. But anyway, they would hide themselves. But when Sukadeva Goswami went near, they didn't hide themselves, because they said Asked why, because they said there's nothing in his mind that's directed towards us. He doesn't take notice of, he's not attracted, he doesn't take notice. So then when that Sukadeva Goswami came to the gathering of Maharaj Parikshit, then immediately all the sages recognized, oh, here's the proper person to recite during Maharaj's Parikshit last days. He's fasting and waiting for death, and all the sages recognized. There are many, many important sages there, and Srila Govinda Maharaj was talking about those sages, and he said they all have big beards, and Govinda Maharaj is going like this to show their big beards, and they all were ready to receive Sukadeva Goswami. So, did you? What's the name of the snake bird? Quetzalcoatl. Quetzalcoatl. That's the name I was looking for. Quetzalcoatl.
It means feathered serpent.
Yeah, feathered serpent. He's an Aztec. He's an Aztec god. And some persons are saying on the flag of Mexico it has what is an eagle with a snake in his mouth, but some persons are saying actually that is a reference to Quetzalcoatl on the flag of Mexico. So I thought that, now I don't really know, but I thought that was to me that's very fascinating. That in the flag of our Mexico, they could have Quetzalcoatl, a reference to Quetzalcoatl, the snake bird, on the flag. I think he's perched on a cactus plant too, right? Is he sitting on a cactus plant? Nopal is cactus. Is he sitting on the cactus? You can see. I mean, how transcendental is that? Reference to a snake bird sitting on a cactus plant. Nava Yogeshwara Janmo Hoite Saraka Gyani Vidishiva Narada Mukhe Krishna Guna Shuni. From their very birth, the 9 great mystic yogis, the Nava-yogendras, were impersonal philosophers of the absolute truth. But because they heard about Lord Krishna's qualities from Lord Brahma, Lord Shiva, and the great sage Narada, they also became Krishna's devotees. Guna Krishna Hoya Kore Krishna Rabajan Ekadasha Skandedara Bhakti Vivaran. In the 11th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, there is a full description of the devotional service of the 9 yogendras, who rendered devotional service because they were attracted to the Lord's transcendental qualities. Aklesham Kamla Bhuva Pravishya Goshtim Kurvanta Shruti Shirasam Shrutim Shrutagya Utungam Yadu Pura Sangamaya Rangam Yogendra Pulaka Brito Navapi Avai Avapu. The 9 yogendras entered Lord Brahma's association and heard from him the real meaning of the topmost Vedic literatures, the Upanishads. Although the yogendras were already conversant in Vedic knowledge, they became very jubilant in Krishna consciousness just by listening to Brahma. Thus they wanted to enter Dwarka, the abode of Lord Krishna. In this way, they finally achieved the place known as Rangashetra. Moksha Kankshi Gyani Hoy Teen Prakar Mumukshu Jivan Mukta Prapta Swarup Ar. Those who wish to merge into the impersonal Brahman are also divided into three categories: those desiring to be liberated, those already liberated, and those who have realized Brahman. Mumukshu jagate aneka samsare jan, mukti lage bhakti kore krishnara bhajan. There are many people within this material world who desire liberation, and for this purpose they render devotional service to Lord Krishna. Mumukshavo Gaurarupam Hitva Bhuta Patin Ata Narayana Kalag Santa Bhajanti E Anasuyava. Those who want to be relieved from the material clutches give up the worship of the various demigods who have fearful bodily features. Such peaceful devotees who are not envious of the demigods worship the different forms of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Narayan. Se Savera Sadhu Sange Guna Swarai Krishna Bhajana Karaya Mumuksha Chadai. If those who are attached to demigod worship fortunately associate with the devotees, their dormant devotional service and appreciation of the Lord's qualities gradually awaken. In this way, they also engage in Krishna's devotional service and give up the desire for liberation and the desire to merge into the existence of impersonal Brahman. Aho Mahatmya, Aho Mahatmam Bahudosha Dushtopi Ekenavati Esha Bhavogunena Satsangamakena Sukavahena Kritadya Yoyena Krishamumuksha. O great learned devotee, although there are many faults in this material world, there is one good opportunity, the association with devotees. Such association brings about great happiness. Due to this good quality, our strong desire to achieve liberation by merging into the Brahman effulgence has become weakened. Okay. Naradera Sange Sonakade Munigan Mumuksha Chadiya Koila Krishnara Bhajan. By associating with the great saint Narada, Shonaka and other great sages gave up their desire for liberation and engaged in Krishna's devotional service. Krishnara Darshane Gora Krishnara Kripai Mumuksha Chariya Gune Bhaje Tarabai. Simply by meeting Krishna or receiving Krishna's special favor, one can give up the desire for liberation. Being attracted by the transcendental qualities of Krishna, one can engage in his service. Asmin Sukha Gana Mrito Param Atmani Vrishni Patani Surati Atmarama Taya Me Vrita Gato Bata Chiram Kala. In this Dwarkadam, I am being attracted. In this Dwarkadam, I am being attracted by the Supreme Personality of God and Krishna, who is personified spiritual bliss. Simply by seeing him, I am feeling great happiness. Oh, I have wasted so much time trying to become self-realized through impersonal cultivation. This is a cause for lamentation. Wasted so much time looking for impersonal realization, but now I have become attracted by Krishna in Dwarka. This, I can believe this is reference. Huh? I think I was saying. Shonaka and other great sages gave up their desire for liberation and engaged in Krishna's devotional service. This is Jivan Mukta Neka Se Dui Beda Jani Bhakti Jivan Mukta Jnane Jivan Mukta Mani There are many people who are liberated even in this lifetime. Some are liberated by discharging devotional service, and others are liberated through the philosophical speculative process. So in Bhagavad Gita it says like that, Brahmabhuta prashanatmana shochatina kangshati samasarveshu bhuteshu mad bhaktim labate param. Everyone who is liberated will become, and it describes what is that liberation. Brahmabhuta prashanatmana shochatina kangshati. They're free of lamentation and free of desires, of all material desires. That's the quality of their liberation, but they still, mad bhaktim labate param. Then they can begin, they can engage themselves in devotional service. Jivan mukta neka se dui beda jani, bhakti jivan mukta jnani, jivan mukta mani. There are many people who are liberated even in this lifetime. Some are liberated by discharging devotional service, and others are liberated through this philosophical speculative process. So some people could say, well, you're reading all this. These are just stories. Do you really believe this? Yes, completely. Completely. You believe these stories. I'm not saying that this is mythology. No. I believe this. Bhakti jivan mukta guna krishta hoya krishna bhaje shuska jnane jivan mukta aparade arobmaje. Those who are liberated by devotional service become more and more attracted by the transcendental qualities of Krishna. Thus they engage in his service. Those who are liberated by the speculative process eventually fall down again due to offensive activity. Ah, nice. So then we come to this verse, which is Yanye ravindaksha vimuktamaninas tvayasta bhavan avishuddha buddhaya aruya kritrena parambaram tata patanti ado nadrita yusmadangraya. O lotus-eyed one, those who think they are liberated in this life but are without devotional service to you are of impure intelligence. Although they accept severe austerities and penances and rise to the spiritual position, to impersonal Brahman realization, they fall down again because they neglect to worship your lotus feet. So they have no locus standi. They have no place where they can go up so high in the sky, but they have nowhere to land. So then they have to come back to the earth. So they'll come back and open hospitals and things. That's what the impersonalists do. Now, this verse reminded me of when I was in Panama. When I was in Panama, sometimes I would look up in the sky and I would see these buzzards. You know, not vultures, buzzards. The buzzards are smaller than vultures, but they're still of nice size. And they would fly effortlessly in the sky, and sometimes with the winds up there, they would just glide for hundreds of yards, just soar and glide. But if you ever saw them when they come back to earth, because they'd come back to earth for their pastime of eating a dead body, some animal that had been killed on the road or something, they'd come back to earth, and if you saw them when they come back to earth, they were very ugly. They're not pretty birds, but not like here we have blue jays. They're very pretty, but buzzards are ugly. But in the sky, they look so graceful and everything. But they're like impersonalists. Then they come back to earth just to eat a dead body. You think they're so high and liberated, soaring, but they come back for the worst kind of taste. For some roadkill.
That's great. I'm not going to forget that one.
Huh?
I'm not going to forget that metaphor. That was great.
Brahma bhuta prashanatmana shochati na kankshati samasarveshu bhuteshu mad bhaktim labate param. There's that verse. One who is thus transcendently situated at once realizes the Supreme Brahman and becomes fully joyful. He never laments or desires to have anything. He is equally disposed to every living entity. In this state, he attains pure devotional service unto me. Mad bhaktim labate param. Now he's ready for devotional service. Not that now he's liberated so he can stop everything. No, mad bhaktim labate param. Now devotional service begins on that liberated platform. Advaita viti patikar upasya swananda simasana labda diksha satena kenapi vayam hatena dashikrita gopavadu vitena. Although I was worshipped by those on the path of monism and initiated into self-realization through the yoga system, I have nonetheless been forcibly turned into a maidservant by some cunning boy who is always joking with the gopis. There's a verse by Bilva Mangal Thakur from the, Krishna Karnamrita. And Guru Maharaj, Srila Maharaj is like, he talks on the normal thing, and then all of a sudden he immediately goes to something so exalted. So when I joined with the mission, previously, in my previous life, I'd been a guru and all this, but I came to Guru Maharaj's lotus feet, and Guru Maharaj quoted this verse. It was so Guru Maharaj is so divinely transcendental. Advaita vityar patikar upasya swananda simasana labda diksha shatena kenapi vayam hatena dashikrita gopa vadu vitena. Although I was worshipped by those on the path of monism and initiated into self-realization through the yoga system. So it refers to, I was seated on a simhasana, on a simhasan. I was seated on a singasana and being worshipped, but I was pulled down from that position. And here, speaking of Bill Mangal, says, I became satena kenapi vayam hatena dashikrita. I became a maidservant. Bill Mangal was saying, I was worshipped by those persons who were impersonalists, and I was seated on a vyasasana of impersonal realization. But I was pulled down from that position and made into a servant. By who? By this Krishna who's always hiding in the bushes looking for the gopis. That's what the verse has an element of humor in that verse. Became a dashi. He became a dashi. He was impersonal realized. He was impersonally realized, and then he became a dasi. He became a dasi like you.
We're aspiring for that.
Well, you're always given the name, You're all Devidasis, no? So sometimes in Bengali they refer to elder sister is Didi. Didi means, in Bengali, they refer to ladies. They don't come, in other places, sometimes not with us, but they refer to them as Matajis. But Govinda Maharaj said he didn't like that word Mataji at all, because in Bengal it refers to somebody who has a mistress. The mistress is called Mataji. So he said that they have a joke that they say, "Hey Babaji, where's your Mataji?" So he said in Bengal, Mataji sounds very ugly, so they prefer Didi, which means elder sister. But also, Didi refers to elder sister, but it also refers Devi Dasi. So it can be taken also in that way. Hey Didi, Devi Dasi. Bhakti Kale Prapta Swarup Divya Dehopai Krishna Guna Krishna Bhaya Bhaje Krishna Pai. One who has attained his constitutional position by the strength of devotional service attains a transcendental body even in this lifetime. Being attracted by Lord Krishna's transcendental qualities, he fully engages in service at his lotus feet. So I'm going to stop here. We'll breakfast time now. And so we'll sing Hari Harai. And then in the future we should be ending by 9 o'clock. I'm under strict orders. I'm pretty amazed by Mahaprabhu's explanation of the Atmarama verse. It goes on like this, but it's pretty amazing. It even encompasses Mexico. Have you heard of that? Quetzalcoatl? I heard of Quetzalcoatl a long time ago. Quetzalcoatl was actually a big star in Mexico. He's a well-known Aztec god. He was one of the principal Aztec gods. This serpent bird.
I read in an encyclopedia that when a cobra becomes like 100 years old or something, that they develop that was the known that they would be able to fly. Something like that. That there was an actual thing that very ancient cobras could develop that kind of thing. I don't know.
Yeah. So why don't we see flying cobras? Kali Yuga, Prabhu. Kali Yuga. Everything becomes Kali Yuga, everything declines.
Just about to get their wings when they die old age.
Hari Haraya Nama Krishna Jaravaya Nama Jaravaya Madhavaya Keshavaya Nama Gopa Govinda Ram Sri Madhusudan Giridhari Gopinatha Maranamo Sri Chaitanya Nityananda Sri Advaita Chandra Gadadhara Shiva Sari Gora Bhaktivedanta Jai Rupa Sanatan Bhattacharya Sri Jiva Gopala Bhatta Dasa Raguna Jai Gosai Kori Chanana Bandan Jai Te Vignana Shabisa Puran Hey Jai Gosai Char Mui Charadan Kastava Padarenu Mora Panchagan Chader Chanana Sevi Bhakta Saniban Janame More Abilan Hey Jai Gosai Jabe Bhaje Koilama Radha Krishna Nitya Lila Gorila Anande Bolo Hari Vaja Shri Guru Vaishnava Pade Maja Iyaman Shri Guru Vaishnava Pad Padma Koriya Harinam Sankirtana Kohe Naratamura Shri Guru Vaishnava Pad Padma Koriya Harinam Sankirtana Kohe Naratamura Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare Hare Rama Rama Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Jai Saparikara Shishi Guru Guranga Gandharvika Giridhari Ju Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Paravajakacharya Ashta Tara Sada Shri Srimad Srila Bhakti Sundar Govinda Dev Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Paravajakacharya Ashta Tara Sada Shri Srimad Srila Bhakti Raka Sridhar Dev Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. Jai Bhagavan Srila Bhakti Sananta Saraswati Goswami Thakur Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Srila Gaur Kishordas Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Srila Satchidananda Bhaktivedanta Thakur Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Vaishnava Sarvabhauma Srila Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai. Rupanuga Guru Varga Ki Jai. Namachari Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Sri Rupa Sanatana Bhattaragana Sri Chiva Gopal Bhatta Dasha Ragana Shadgo Swami Prabhu Ki Jai. Premsigo Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Sri Gaura Bhakta Vrenda Ki Jai. Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita Ki Jai. Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami Prabhu Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Srila Vishvavaranya Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Prabhupad Ki Jai. Jai Srila Bhakti Kushamashra Maharaj Ki Jai. Shri Radha Krishna Gopi Govardhan Sham Guna Radha Kunda Kalindiya Munajo Ki Jai. Samaveda Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Shri Harinam Sankirtan Ki Jai. All the assembled devotees Ki Jai. Shri Vishaka Devi Dasi Ki Jai. Gaur Premanande.
Jai Om Vishnupad Srila Bhakti Pavan Janardan Maharaj Ki